Hello, my name is Shirley Self, and I'm here to talk astrology. Tonight I want to continue my discussion of the phases of the moon, the journey of the soul, a la William Butler Yeats. So today, I have come to moon phase 11. That's the 11th day after the new moon. It's the waxing moon. You look for it in your horoscope. It will be 128.5 to 141.5 degrees after the sun. So we've come here. We're back here in this rectangle of power, the rectangle of focused power. What these people all do, what all these phases do, here 5, the loss of innocence, here 11 at the rebel, 19, the assertive individual up there, and 25, the crusader. These phases are all working to free their consciousness from any faith in any outer authority. They're to find their faith and their truth in themselves. So what they have to do, virtually at 11 here, is to attune that, his consciousness, to the deeper resonance of the soul. And so he has to be virtually driven inward. Now that inner resonance, it will tell you the truth of the outer world, and as you pay attention to your gut reactions, that information becomes more nuanced. So what this is an initiation phase. It's the initiation of sex. And this sexual initiation is going to open the door to those deeper levels where moon phase 11 finds his truth. So the mythology behind this is very interesting, and I think important to understand. This is the myth of Persephone going on here. You remember Persephone was Demeter, the great mother, had a daughter named Persephone, and she was eternal spring. And one day this beautiful little eternal spring was out picking flowers. I've forgotten what flowers they were. It seemed to me it was important. Anyway, here comes Pluto roaring up out of the ground. He snatches her and takes her down into his own realm. And she's just devastated, you know. And there he rapes her. Well, she refuses to eat, until finally, after a while, she is encouraged to eat a few pomegranate seeds. So, meanwhile, Demeter, Mother Earth, has gone into mourning. She's looking for her kid everywhere and not finding her. And so the world becomes barren. The crops stop growing, the rain stops falling, everything turns to dust. So the gods get concerned, and finally Mercury goes down to retrieve Persephone. Unfortunately, she's eaten a couple of pomegranate seeds, and the pomegranate is a symbol of sex. And those pomegranate seeds mean that she spends half her time under the earth and with Pluto, and the rest of the time up with Mom, Demeter. And that's why we have winter. That's where when Persephone is with Pluto. But also Persephone, she is the light in the body. She is your divine nature. And it takes some kind of rape or invasion of the feminine nature is going to drive the emotional nature down into the body, down into the depths. And what's going to happen is that the mind, the logical mind, is going to have no guidance at all. And that is the meaning of the Mercury having to go down and find Persephone. The solar mind has got to be silent, secluded, and pay attention. And the mind has to virtually shut up and pay attention. And when the mind is shut up and paid attention, images will start to float into the mind. And as the mind pays attention to these images, then he's starting to bring that light into consciousness. And eventually he will have a vision in which it's revealed to the conscious mind what he wants to become. Now, this emotional revelation, this image that he is given, is immediate alignment of the solar mind to the mind of the daemon. This is empowering. The images that are given to the conscious mind from the subconscious are a revelation. They're the truth. And they're the source truly the source of creativity that is being explored and expanded in the next few phases. So Persephone's truth. Persephone is where you find truth. Persephone is the light in the body. She's the goddess of fertility, and she's the book of the law of nature. And she is the source of all science, all invention, the source of civilization. Now, that conscious connection is going to make that the life of moon phase 11 potent, magical. But until that connection's made, the world will be barren, and because the will has lost all emotional guidance and is left now in confusion, rage, suffering. Remember, rage is the big issue of the water quarter, and what with brutality, the negative influence of the negative body of fate over there. These people are it's a test. It's a test of the right use of power. This rectangle, 11, 5, 25, and 19, are tested in their use of power. So the logical mind, the solar mind of moon phase 11, will feel intellectual despair. Despair is what will drive him into himself and to discover the light in the body. Let's go back here to moon phase 4 and 5. Remember the myth back in there? That's when Cinderella came home from the witch, and she buried the light in the earth and went out to join Will in their conquest of the world. Well, that light is now rediscovered, and it is virtually the light of one's own spiritual nature, one's own divine nature. So, so once the mind is discovered that conviction, that gut reaction that lets him know what's the truth in the world or not, he will use that energy. The will is still pointed out, focused out into the world, the solar mind. The lunar mind, however, is focused inward into one's own creative potential. And so the energies will be focused out into the world to transform the health and well-being of the collective. That connection with his own natural law connects 11 with the nature itself. These people here tend to be pantheists because of that connection with the laws of nature. Moon phase 11 is much more tolerant of other people than he is of institutionalized error, institutionalized falsehoods, beliefs, lies that burden society. And his own inner truth will empower him to expose propaganda, expose lies. Moon phase 11 and moon phase 12 are the moon phase 10, sorry. These people are iconoclastic. They will stand up and say, the emperor is buck naked. And that's what they're here to do. And moon phase 11 has got the blessing of rhetoric. That's an ability to explain complicated things so that idiots like you and I can understand them. Truth is the weapon of moon phase 11. Now, this is a gregarious soul. Look at the Gemini over here, and the Gemini up there, and Aquarius. And so moon phase 11 just likes to be with people. A very gregarious person. But he needs solitude in order to do the work of self-discovery, to gain personal autonomy. The goal by the full moon is to become completely independent in emotion and thought. Now that work is solitary enterprise for sure. Now if the mind of 11 refuses to go down, to plumb the depths, he'll cling to the surface of things, and he'll engage in his struggle for power and prestige and approval. He lacks a core consciousness, and that will lead to feelings of persecution and self-consciousness. All that emotional intensity will turn to rage and self-hatred. All of these rectangular power have high potential to abuse their energies. Now, although the contact for the inner lights usually, I've never seen it when it wasn't a result of something very painful. It's an opening into the truth of the self. It's an initiation into the potential of the soul. They're an eloquent force for truth in the life, in the world. They tear down false gods. They expose hypocrisy. Got some wonderful moon phase 11s. Mark Twain is one of my favorites. Mark Twain, Carlos Castaneda. Oh, I devoured his books. They were so wonderful. A moon phase 11. Anthropologists have said, oh, he invented the whole thing. But a moon phase 11 is capable of doing what Castaneda did. And so I think it was truth. And certainly I found an awful lot of information in there that I found valuable in my own life from Castaneda. Another moon phase 11, Joan Baez. She fights the fight. She's still doing it. Martin Luther. Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart. I love Martha Stewart. And here's another one, a moon phase 11. Have you got it centered there? How is that? Okay. This is Edward Snowden. He's the one who exposed the NSA, the National Security Administration, for gobbling up all the communications amongst people in the world and storing them. Anyway, here in 2013, he was living in Hawaii, earning over $200,000 a year, and working for the NSA on a GED. That's how bright this kid is, this young man. And now he's on the run. He's got, his ascendant, Mars, the North Node, the Sun, and the 5th house are all ruled by Mercury. His mask, the descendant, is got Neptune and Uranus, and they're all ruled by Jupiter. So he's got 5 planets in air, 4 planets in fire, 1 in water, no earth. No earth is difficult. I mean, you're incredibly ungrounded. Hard to make things real, to bring things into conclusion. No earth means that it's hard to actually to accomplish much in the world with no earth. And all that fire and air, that's an impetuous person. No hesitation. When he wants to do it, he does it. No consideration of the consequences, and that is earth. Considering the consequences is a quality of earth. So his mask is ruled by Jupiter. Okay, here he is. His mask is ruled by Jupiter. And that is the revolutionary, the crusader, moon phase 25. And that's the descendant. And you see that there, the Uranus is right on that descendant, conjunct Jupiter. And so he needed to own that. That's his way through. That's the way means by which he accomplishes in the world. Now his body of fate is up there at 5 degrees of Aries, and it's ruled by Mars, which is ruled by Mercury. Now the creative genius is down there in the 5th house, and it's ruled by Venus, which is ruled by the Sun, which is ruled by Mercury. So it seems to me that, considering that the North Node is over there conjunct the Mars and the Sun, that he had no choice but to speak up. He had to do what he had to do. Even though I wonder, that South Node's over there conjunct Neptune, whether he was played by the NSA, I don't know. But it seems to me that he had no choice doing what he had to do. And that South Node, the power of that South Node there, is that South Node and Neptune are conjunct the galactic center. So and notice that his sun is opposed that, and so he could look there and he could see. The galactic center pulls us toward the future, and he could see the future. He could see what they were doing, and he wanted to derail that. And so we owe him I think we owe him hero status, which I think he wanted. That's that Venus in Leo down there. I have one more. Let's see if I can separate them without dropping everything. One more moon phase 11 I wanted to share with you quickly. This is Coco. She's a gorilla. She was, I didn't give you Edward Snowden's information. Let me do that real quickly. Edward Snowden was born on 21 June 1983 at 4:42 a.m. in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Now that was Edward Snowden. This is Coco. She's a gorilla. And she was born in Burbank, California on 4 July 1971 at 4:30 a.m. Now, this is a gorilla that was born into captivity and has learned to speak. Notice the beautiful Gemini she's got there. She's a sweetheart. She's got the Venus in Gemini in the first house. And she does not speak. She communicates by sign languages. And she has over 1,000 signs. I just wanted to point out the mask is over there, ruled by Jupiter in Scorpio. And so what she really wants, and needs is companionship. And I think she has a certain amount of companionship. Let's look at the body of fate up there at 5 Aries, up there by Chiron. And the Chiron and the body of fate both show a wounding up there to her freedom, to her life. The Chiron's in Aries, and that shows a blow, a wounding to the life force itself. And it's up there in the house of freedom, so our gorilla here has no freedom. The creative genius is down there in the 5th house, conjunct that Uranus. And so friends is what she needs. It would be nice if she had a child. But she's getting pretty old by now and she has still had no child. But she does have kitties. She has pets. Now that's the 6th house. Notice how she's got a pretty loaded 6th house. Moon and Jupiter and Neptune all there. And so she has had a series of cats that she loves and takes care of. So that's Coco. I want to expose you to this again. This is Kabbalah of the Golden Dawn, the snake upon the tree. And where are my cards? Here's the card for moon phase 11 and 25. And it is a card virtually of the freeing of the entrapment of the mind, freeing the mind, fighting to own your to own your own creative power. That's a sword of perception. It's going to cut through to the core of things. One of the key words for the lovers is sword and armor, and I don't have that here. And it's also smell, which is, I think, is kind of interesting. The pheromones linking the lovers. So, so this is a test of spiritual strength. It's a return to innocence, and that's what moon phase 11 is about. Moon phase 5, the body of fate of moon phase 11, it was where innocence was lost, as both minds turned out to navigate and express their powers in the world. And this is a card of a return to innocence, to clearing out of any karma or residues from that hamper moon phase 11 and 12 and 13 and 4. Anyway, this is where innocence is regained. This is a war against limitations, active use of power. Now the card of the, where are we here? The card of the 5 and 19, which are the body of fate and the creative genius, is the devil. Now the devil, as I've told you before, is that mystery one must penetrate before one can know the higher principle of the self. The devil is average person's understanding of reality, and that's why both minds, the male mind and the female mind, are shown trapped to the limited and limiting understanding of the times. What this card has got to do is virtually take that pentagram, which is there at the devil's head, and turn it right side up, which is a release from the limitations of the times, to be able to see through. So that's moon phase 11, a very powerful, a very important, and a very difficult moon phase. They need solitude, and they don't want it because they want to be with their friends. They're a very gregarious people. We've got all that Gemini and all that air sign in their makeup. So what they have to do is to seek solitude, so that they can discover their own spiritual nature, so that they can discover their own source of truth, so that they do not have to rely on Karl Rove to tell them the truth, for instance. Anyway, that's moon phase 11. Some very interesting and powerful people. Martha Stewart, a moon phase 11. Remember, they put her in jail. That's how much this world does not like powerful women. And so next time I'll talk about 12. Until then, may blessings flow your way. Bye-bye. Not gonna work.